Good afternoon, I'm meteorologist Beau, and it is January 17th, 2023. We take a look at the Storm Prediction Center's severe weather outlook for tomorrow, for Wednesday, and we are outlined for a risk. Now, they did expand the slight risk a little bit. Let's take a look here. We see that light green area. That's where thunderstorms are possible with lightning, but not expected to be severe, probably not severe. Dark green is a level 1, the lowest risk the Storm Prediction Center has for severe weather. And then the yellow zone is a level 2 slight risk, marginal risk, and a slight risk of severe thunderstorms. I don't really like the word slight risk because typically during these events, a slight risk means we will have some severe weather, but not expecting a major outbreak. We have some limiting factors on this event that we're not sure about, and that is surface cape. Surface cape is energy that thunderstorms tap into. When we have surface cape, we typically forecast the chance of damaging wind and tornadoes. Elevated cape, like we had last week, produces a lot of hail. This event, we're going to have a little bit of surface cape, a little bit of mid-level cape, and a lot of wind shear. Very strong winds aloft with this system and down at the surface. And thunderstorms, when they develop, could have a little bit of spin to them. So we can't rule out an isolated, short-lived tornado. Now, most tornadoes are isolated and most are short-lived. Similar to the last 2 or 3 events, this looks about the same, perhaps a little less cape with this one. So that raises questions about the extent of the severe weather. Now, we will have thunderstorms tomorrow, so let's take a look at a futurecast radar, and I'll show you what some of the models are spitting out for us tomorrow for this event. The HRRR model, a high-resolution model for tomorrow morning around 6 a.m., and we may have a couple of showers in the region, not much during the morning hours, anything before 9 a.m. would be light, but as we move through the late morning hours, 10 a.m., 11 a.m., and 12 p.m., we see scattered showers and thunderstorms moving into the area, southwest to northeast, moving about 40-50 miles per hour. They'll be moving along at a quick pace. Now, we have a lot of moisture in the atmosphere with this system, so we're going to have locally heavy rain. Would not be surprised to see a few flood or flash flood warnings. 1 to 2 inches of rain may fall under the heavier storms. If we had some training of the storms, we would even enhance that rainfall a bit more. Either way, not a widespread flood event, but some of those commonly flooded areas that have problems during heavy rain, they may have problems with this event. Now, as we move through the afternoon hours, we see additional thunderstorms form to the southwest. There will be a warm front somewhere in here. We talked about that on the video this morning. Where that warm front sets up is where we'll have to watch for some severe weather along it, right along it, just north of it, and then south of it in the warm sector. That's where we typically see some severe thunderstorms. The concern will be a few reports of wind damage, maybe a report or 2 of hail, and then an isolated, short-lived tornado threat. Again, most tornadoes in our region are short-lived. A tornado is a tornado, though, and whether it's short-lived or a long-track tornado, it can cause damage. So we're going to want to pay attention to the Beau Weather Talk app tomorrow, to your other sources. Remember, I tell you to have 3 to 5 ways of receiving your severe weather information. All sources can fail, including weather radio. So you want to have multiple ways of receiving your severe weather information. As we move into the 5 o'clock hour, I'll zoom in here. Here's Cape Girardeau, Benton, Evansville, Murray, Paducah, Jackson, Tennessee, the Boot Hill, Poplar Bluff. There, you got your bearings. We're going to have some thunderstorms in the region into tomorrow evening and tomorrow night. We'll stop here at about 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and midnight. By midnight, most of the precipitation has swept off to the east-northeast. Now, again, we're questioning whether we're going to have enough cape. Remember, cape is energy that thunderstorms tap into. Whether we're going to have enough cape for this event to produce severe weather. So we're going to have to just keep an eye on it tomorrow, mainly between the hours of 2 p.m. and 11 p.m. tomorrow night is when we're concerned about the chance of severe weather. Let's move over to the NAM model. Let's just pull up the cape values and watch what happens as we move through the afternoon hours. You see this surface-based cape. This is where the warm front will be located. The surface-based cape spreads northward along and south of the warm front. That's the most unstable air with this system. And as we move through the afternoon hours, you see that the Cape struggles to move northward. Let's just take a look here. 100 joules, 300 joules. This is not a lot of Cape. If we had Cape in the 500 to 1,000 range, I'd be much more concerned tomorrow about an outbreak of severe weather. But with these low numbers, it's questionable about how much severe weather we're going to have. Again, wouldn't be surprised to see a few reports of wind damage tomorrow and then maybe an isolated tornado risk. We see right along the front a little more forcing. We also see a little bit higher Cape values, 500, 600 joules. We'll see 300 joules there. We move northward, 68. This is not a lot of Cape. Again, if I was looking at higher Cape numbers, I'd be more concerned. We'll keep an eye on this. This is one thing that I'm going to watch tomorrow afternoon and evening is the increase in Cape right along that front, the warm front, the cold front, and a weak area of low pressure is forecast to form somewhere in southeast Missouri and move into southern Illinois. And that could cause a little more wind shear. So we'll have to watch that late tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow night. We stop here at about 11 o'clock and you can see 300, 200, 100 joules of Cape. And that's as the system is pulling away. So bottom line, we're going to have a risk of flooding tomorrow, isolated flash flooding, some flooding, commonly flooded areas will have problems, heavy rain, precipitative water values are very high with this system. Precipitative water is a measure of moisture in the atmosphere. When we have high precipitative water values, we start to think about locally heavy rain, maybe some flash flooding. We look at the precipitative water values here, and these are high numbers for this time of the year, kind of a tropical feed to this as we zoom out. We take those numbers off there, and you can see this feed of moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, our source for moisture, into our region, and this is quite a bit of moisture for thunderstorms to tap into, locally heavy rain. In addition to that, the Storm Prediction Center has us in a risk of severe weather tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow night. A couple of reports, a few reports of wind damage possible, 60-mile-per-hour winds, maybe some quarter-size hail. This does not look like a prolific hail event like the last system we had, which produced dozens of reports of hail, some as large as baseball. And then maybe tomorrow, an isolated tornado risk, 1 or 2 tornadoes. Can't rule that out. As always, weather evolves, so monitor updates. Monitor your Beau Weather Talk app. I'll be on top of it tomorrow. I'll likely do a Facebook Live. We'll try that again. We did it during the last event. You can tune in and just watch what I'm looking at on radar, and I'll add a little commentary. All right, have a good evening.